NHS England has today banned puberty blockers for children after an independent review, meaning that kids who are considering transitioning will no longer have access to drugs which halt the physical changes on puberty. Do we think this is entirely a coincidence after Andrew Doyle's fantastic special on this very subject recently? I certainly think not, but there we go. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer has ended months of indecision and thrown his personal support behind banning transgender athletes from female competitions. After recent bans were announced in British swimming, cycling and athletics, the Labour leader told The Telegraph, "I think the important thing is that the sports governing bodies take a lead on this," and they are doing that. And we're supportive of what they're doing, particularly in elite sports. And in the end, common sense has to prevail in terms of safety and integrity of sport. But hang on a minute. This is the same party who just last week were announcing manifesto pledges like these.
Labour will offer the country to pick up legislating to protect the LGBT community with a comprehensive trans-inclusive ban on conversion therapy. We'll also strengthen the law so anti-LGBT plus hate crimes are treated as aggravated offences, and there'll be a much-needed modernising of gender recognition processes, which are humiliating and overlong.
Let's bring in former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. Bill, thank you very much for joining us. Look, Keir Starmer's going to be shouted down by the woke mob behind him if he becomes Prime Minister, isn't he?
I don't think he's going to be shouted down by extreme transgender activists. And I don't think there's an inconsistency between what Angela Eagle was saying and what Keir is saying. On the specific issue, in my view, Keir has rightly made clear that there should be a ban on transgender people participating in women's sport. People who are male, who go through puberty as male, inherently have a physical and a genetic advantage over females, and it shouldn't be treated as a level playing field. And that's what Keir was saying. And you know, you might argue Keir has been slow to declare his views on these issues. I think in part that's been because of sensitivity.
He's not been slow to declare his views on it, Bill. He's been very slow to U-turn on it, actually, hasn't he? Because before it was, 99% of women, and then he didn't want to get drawn on it, and then now all of a sudden he's saying this. I mean, one thing that goes underreported, in my view, is that if Labour do win by quite a large majority, which is, looking likely, isn't it, at the next election, who are a lot of these MPs going to be? A lot of young people just out of short trousers who might have worked in the charity sector and been involved in student politics. That lot do not want to ban trans people from taking part in women's sports, Bill.
Well, with respect, Patrick, I think that's completely at odds with the people who've been selected as Labour candidates and who are going to be Labour MPs. But the reason Keir, if you like, has taken a step-by-step approach is that he doesn't want to toxify the debate, and there are people within the Tory party, led by Rishi Sunak, that do want to do that. But I think increasingly Keir has rightly recognised that the extremism of some extreme transgender activists is not going to go away. That's why, and this has been happening over a process of 6 to 9 months, Keir has been making it very clear that trans rights cannot override women's rights, that self-identification as transgender is not and should not happen under a Labour government, and parents rightly should be informed if their children are questioning their gender. Now, all of that, I think, is in line with the views of the vast majority of people.
So if you look at Keir Starmer and some of the decisions he will possibly have to make when he is actually in charge, he's going to have this stuff on gender issues, OK, which the Tories are looking to vote on Friday, I believe it is. That's going to be a massive struggle for him. It is going to be a massive struggle for him to get anything like that through. The Gaza situation, or indeed any conflict in the Middle East, is going to be a massive problem for him as well. We're also seeing as well issues like he's brought in Mark Carney, for example, to, as far as I can tell, find ways to tax the squishy middle classes more than normal. That could well backfire at the polls. Is a Keir Starmer Labour government actually practically unworkable?
No, of course it's not. And, with this critique that Keir is weak and will be pushed around, for God's sake, just look at what's happened under his leadership. Compare where the Labour Party was under Jeremy Corbyn and how it has been transformed. And that's taken tough, ruthless leadership. And I think people should judge politicians in opposition by the way they manage their parties. And Keir has brought the Labour Party massively back to the centre grounds so that it's Labour that's representing the mainstream majority. And frankly, the Tory party are frankly a bunch of extremists these days.
A bunch of extremists, Bill. That's a strong statement there. Realistically, this is really annoying, Bill, because unfortunately we're at the end of the hour and I've got to let you get going now. But
I could quote a whole range of examples.
We've got to go, Bill.